The warning came 3 days later. Every sensor in Earth's system lit up at once. Reality was tearing apart at the edge of the solar system. Thousands of Devourer ships were emerging, more than had ever been seen before, and behind them came hive ships. Dozens of them, each kilometers long, each carrying that terrible intelligence that called itself the Void Emperor. "This is it," Admiral Tae Yang said from his command center. "He's bringing everything." Jiwoo was coordinating civilian evacuations from orbital stations. Millions of people needed to reach Earth's surface or underground shelters. But there wasn't enough time. There would never be enough time. "Prioritize children and medical patients," she ordered, her voice steady despite the fear in her chest. "Everyone else who can fight, arm them. If the fleet falls, we defend every meter of ground." On the lunar base, Hee-jin worked frantically on Daewon's plan, to overload all Warden connections simultaneously. She needed to build a device that could synchronize their abilities. It was theoretical technology, barely tested, but it was their only hope. Minho and the remaining Wardens gathered on Daewon's flagship. 12 of them now. 2 had died in the Viridian Nebula. They all knew what was coming. They had all volunteered anyway. "Any regrets?" Daewon asked them. A warden named Soyeon smiled sadly. "I always wanted to travel the stars. Didn't think it would end like this. But if Earth survives, if humanity continues, then it was worth it." The others nodded. They were young, most of them. They had lives ahead of them, families, dreams. But they were wardens, guardians. And guardians protected what they loved, whatever the cost. The Devourer fleet reached Mars. The colonies there had been evacuated, but automated defenses activated. Railgun platforms and missile batteries fired everything they had. Some Devourers fell, but most pushed through. Mars went dark within an hour. Jupiter's stations lasted longer. The Skorath warriors who had allied with Earth made their stand there, fighting in hand-to-hand combat aboard their ships when the Devourers breached hulls. They bought time for refugee ships to escape. Not one Skorath warrior retreated. They died singing battle hymns, and humanity would never forget their sacrifice. At Saturn, Admiral Tae Yang positioned the main defense fleet. 200 ships from a dozen species, all that remained of the Galactic Alliance. They were outnumbered 10 to 1. Behind them floated Earth, blue and beautiful and fragile. "This is Admiral Tae Yang to all ships," he broadcast. 3 months ago, most of you didn't know humans existed. Now you're dying to defend our home. That's courage worth remembering. So let's make sure this battle is remembered. Let's make the Devourers pay for every inch. For Earth, for the galaxy, for everyone we've lost. "All ships, engage!" The fleet surged forward to meet the Devourer swarm. The space between Saturn and Jupiter became a hell of fire and twisted reality. Ships exploded on both sides. The Melodian Union's vessels used their unique sound-based weapons to shatter Devourer ship structures. Vrelith clans who had sought redemption fought with suicidal bravery, ramming hive ships when their weapons failed. But it wasn't enough. The Devourers kept coming. For every one destroyed, 2 more appeared. Reality itself was breaking down from so many void entities in one place. That's when the Wardens entered the battle. 14 warriors who could touch space-time itself spread out across the battlefield. Where they went, reality stabilized. Conventional weapons began working again. They became anchors of sanity in a universe going mad. Daewon led them, his 300 years of experience guiding each strike. He had fought impossible odds before, had survived when he should have died 100 times, but even he could see they were losing. The fleet was being ground down. In another hour, the Devourers would reach Earth. "Hee-jin," he called through his communication link. "Is the device ready?" "Almost," she replied, her voice tight with stress. "I need 15 more minutes." "We don't have 15 minutes," Minho's voice cut in. "Then we buy her 15 minutes. Warden's on me. We're going into the hive ships." "Negative," Daewon ordered. "That's suicide." "So is this entire battle," Minho replied calmly. "But we're not fighting to survive anymore. We're fighting to give Earth a future. You taught me that." Before Daewon could stop him, Minho and 8 other Wardens launched toward the nearest hive ship. They moved in perfect formation, a technique Daewon had shown them. Where one Warden was powerful, 9 working together could reshape reality itself. They punched through the hive ship's exterior and began tearing it apart from the inside. Explosions rippled across its surface. But the other hive ships responded, converging on the Warden's position. Soyeon was the first to fall. A devourer beam caught her as she covered Minho's advance. She didn't scream, just smiled and triggered an overload of her warden abilities. The feedback destroyed everything within a kilometer, including herself. 7 more wardens fell the same way over the next 10 minutes. Each sacrifice bought seconds of time. Each death destroyed dozens of devourers. Daewon wanted to join them, but he held back. He needed to survive for the final act. But watching his students, his fellow guardians, die one by one was torture worse than anything the void had thrown at him. Finally, Hyejin's voice crackled through. "Device is ready. I need all remaining wardens to link with it." Only 5 wardens remained. Minho, Daewon, and 3 others. They disengaged from combat and formed up around Earth's moon, where Hyejin had positioned the synchronization device. The Devourer fleet sensed what was happening. Every hive ship turned toward the moon, accelerating with desperate speed. The Void Emperor knew what they planned. "No," his voice thundered through every warden's mind. "I will not be denied. I will consume everything." "Not today," Daewon said quietly. He activated the device. Pain exploded through every warden's body. The device linked their abilities, synchronized them, amplified them beyond anything they'd ever experienced. Together they touched the very fabric of space-time. They found the anchor points, the bridges the Void Emperor had built using their warden connections, and they began to overload them. Reality screamed. The Void Emperor fought back, trying to maintain his grip on their universe. But 5 wardens working together, burning themselves out, were stronger than any anchor. Minho felt his body breaking apart at the molecular level. He thought about his family, about Earth, about the future he'd never see. "Worth it," he whispered. One by one, the other wardens fell. Their bodies couldn't handle the paradox they were creating. 3 died, then 4. Only Daewon remained, the original warden, the guardian who had spent 300 years fighting in the dark. He poured everything into the device. Every ounce of his strength, every memory of Earth, every reason he'd survived the void. The anchor points began to collapse. The Void Emperor howled in rage and fear. "You'll doom yourself. Without the warden connection, you'll be torn apart." "I know," Daewon said, "but Earth will survive. That's all that matters." He triggered the final overload. The anchor points shattered. The Void Emperor's connection to normal space-time severed completely. Every devourer ship in the solar system began dissolving, pulled back into the void as their master lost his grip on reality. The hive ships screamed as they were dragged back through closing rifts. The Void Emperor's voice faded, promising revenge that would never come, and Daewon felt himself dying. His body was breaking down. The paradox feedback was destroying every cell, but he didn't fight it. He had done his duty. Earth was safe. Humanity would survive. As his vision faded, he saw Earth one last time. Beautiful and blue and alive. He smiled. "Worth it," he whispered, and let go. The battlefield went silent. The surviving fleet ship stared in shock as the last devourer dissolved. Victory. Impossible, miraculous victory. On Earth, Jiwoo watched sensors confirm the devourers were gone. She wanted to cheer, but all she felt was grief. The wardens had sacrificed themselves. All of them. Earth was saved, but the cost was unbearable. Admiral Tae Yang ordered the fleet to stand down. They had won. Barely. 30 ships remained from the 200 that started the battle. Thousands of crew members dead. Entire species nearly wiped out. But Earth survived. 3 months later, the galaxy gathered at Earth for a memorial. Representatives from every surviving species came to honor the wardens. Statues were erected showing all 14 guardians. Their names would be taught to children across 100 worlds. Jiwoo gave the dedication speech. She stood before billions watching on broadcasts and spoke from her heart. "They called us weak," she said. "They forgot what humanity truly is. We don't give up. We protect what we love. We sacrifice for the greater good." The wardens showed the galaxy what it means to be human. They showed that strength isn't about power. It's about choosing to stand up when everything says to fall down. Earth will never forget them, and we'll make sure the galaxy never forgets either. After the ceremony, Jiwoo and Hyejin stood alone in the memorial chamber. They looked at Daewon's statue, the guardian who had fought for 300 years and given everything in the end. Hyejin's instruments suddenly beeped. She frowned, checking the readings twice before her eyes went wide. "That's impossible," she whispered. "What?" Jiwoo asked. I'm detecting a Warden biosignature. It's faint, almost impossible to track, but it's there, coming from somewhere outside normal space-time. The Viridian Nebula had been beautiful once. 3 star systems filled with mining colonies and trade stations, supporting millions of lives. Now it was empty, dark, dead. The Galactic Council sent their fastest ships to investigate. Only one returned, and its crew was half insane from what they'd seen. They spoke of creatures that existed in multiple dimensions at once, of weapons that passed through shields like they weren't there, of reality itself being consumed, eaten by things that shouldn't exist. The Devourers had arrived in force. Emergency sessions ran constantly now at Council headquarters. Representatives who had once argued about trade routes and taxes now faced extinction. The Luminari, whose crystalline cities had stood for 10,000 years, watched helplessly as their border colonies went silent one by one. Finally, the Council did what they had sworn they would never do. They asked Earth for help. Jiwoo stood before the same chamber where she had been laughed at months ago, but now the representatives looked at her with fear and desperate hope. She could have savored their humiliation. Instead, she thought about the millions dying in the Viridian Nebula and kept her voice professional. Earth will help, she said, but on our terms. Full Council membership for humanity, protection for all human colonies, and Warden Daewon commands the defense fleet. The Council had no choice. They agreed to everything. Within days, the largest military force in galactic history assembled at staging point Theta 9. 200 ships from a dozen species. Earth's fleet formed the core, with Admiral Tae-young coordinating logistics. The Skorath brought their best warriors. The Melodians provided support ships. Even some Vrelith clans joined, seeking redemption for their earlier attack on Earth. But the true power lay with the Wardens, 14 humans who could bend reality itself. Daewon stood on his flagship's bridge studying tactical displays. Minho stood beside him along with 3 other Wardens. The rest were distributed across the fleet, ready to respond wherever needed. It's not enough, Minho said quietly. I know, Daewon replied, but it's what we have. The fleet jumped to the Viridian Nebula. What they found made hardened soldiers go pale. Devourer ships filled the space where colonies used to be. They weren't ships in the traditional sense. They were living things, organic masses that pulsed with sickly light. Where they moved, reality warped. Stars flickered. Space itself seemed to crack. And there were thousands of them. All ships. This is Daewon, he broadcast. Stay in formation. Don't let them isolate you. Wardens, you're with me. We cut to the heart of their force. The battle began with a coordinated strike. The Allied fleet opened fire with every weapon they had. Some shots connected, tearing through Devourer flesh. Others passed through the creatures like they weren't solid, hitting nothing. The Devourers responded. Beams of energy that existed in too many dimensions at once cut through shields effortlessly. Ships exploded. Crews died. In the first 10 minutes, the Alliance lost 15 vessels. Then the Wardens entered the fight. Daewon led a strike team directly into the Devourer formation. His Warden abilities let him navigate through the reality distortions that destroyed normal ships. Minho and the others followed his lead, moving in perfect coordination. They found that while conventional weapons struggled against Devourers, Warden powers affected them directly. When Daewon focused his abilities, he could stabilize space-time around the creatures, making them solid and vulnerable. The other Wardens learned to do the same. Slowly, the tide began to turn. With Wardens holding reality stable, the fleet could fight effectively. They pushed deeper into Devourer territory, destroying the creatures by the dozens. But something was wrong. Daewon felt it in his bones. This was too easy. The Devourers were retreating too readily, leading them forward. It was a trap. All ships, fall back, he ordered. Reality tore open. A massive rift appeared, and through it came something worse than any Devourer scout. A hive ship, kilometers long, pulsing with malevolent intelligence, and from that ship came a voice that spoke directly into Daewon's mind. Hello, little Warden. I've been waiting for you. The voice was ancient and utterly alien. It made Daewon's enhanced senses scream with wrongness. This was the intelligence behind the Devourers, the Void Emperor. You know me? Daewon sent back, broadcasting on a frequency only wardens could hear. Know you? I've dreamed of you for 300 years. You're the one who imprisoned me, the one who touched my realm and survived. You're special, Daewon. Your connection to the void makes you valuable. The hive ship launched thousands of Devourers at once. They moved with terrifying coordination, targeting the Allied fleet's weak points. Ships exploded faster than Taeyang could coordinate responses. Daewon made a decision. Minho, take command of the wardens. Get the fleet out of here. What about you? Minho asked. I'm going into that hive ship. Whatever's controlling the Devourers is in there. I need to understand what we're really facing. That's suicide. Probably, Daewon agreed. But it's our only chance to learn something useful. Now go. That's an order. Minho wanted to argue but recognized the look in Daewon's eyes. He'd worn that same look when he volunteered to become a warden. The look of someone willing to sacrifice everything for Earth. Daewon launched from his flagship in a small attack craft. He pushed his warden abilities to their limit, phasing through Devourer attacks that should have vaporized him. The hive ship was like flying into a nightmare. Its interior was all wrong, with geometry that hurt to look at, and corridors that led in directions that didn't exist. But Daewon had spent 300 years in the void. He knew how to navigate impossible spaces. He followed the feeling of wrongness deeper and deeper until he reached a central chamber. Minho fought his way back to the flagship with the other wardens. They stabilized reality around the fleeing ships, buying time for retreat. The cost was high. 2 wardens died holding a choke point so a colony ship could escape. Another sacrificed herself to destroy a Devourer about to ram a hospital vessel. But they got most of the fleet out. As they jumped to safety, Minho stared back at the Viridian Nebula, knowing Daewon was still in there. Inside the hive ship, Daewon stood in a chamber that existed in too many dimensions at once. And there, suspended in reality itself, he saw the source of the voice. It wasn't a creature. It was a concept given form. The Void Emperor was entropy itself, the eventual heat death of the universe made conscious and hungry. It existed outside normal space-time, only able to interact with reality through the Devourers it created. Now you understand, the Void Emperor's voice whispered. I am inevitable. I am the end of all things. And you, little warden, are going to help me enter your universe fully. Never, Daewon said. You already have. Your connection to the void, your warden abilities, they're anchors. Bridges between my realm and yours. Every time you use your powers, you weaken the barriers. And when enough wardens exist, when enough bridges are built, I will cross over completely. Horror filled Daewon. The warden program wasn't Earth's salvation, it was dooming the galaxy. You made me create more wardens, he said. That's why you sent scouts. Why you're attacking now. You wanted us to build an army of anchors for you. Yes, and you did exactly what I needed. Such a dutiful guardian. The Void Emperor's laughter was like reality screaming. But don't worry. When I consume your universe, Earth will be last. I'll let you watch everything else die first. Rage filled Daewon, but beneath it was calculation. He had learned something crucial. The Void Emperor needed wardens as anchors, which meant wardens could also be used to destroy those anchors. We'll stop you, Daewon said, whatever it costs. You can't stop the end of all things, little guardian, but please try. Your struggles make the eventual consumption so much sweeter. The chamber began collapsing. Daewon fled, barely making it back to his attack craft before the hive ship's interior folded in on itself. He jumped to faster than light speeds, racing to catch up with the fleet. When he finally reached them, he called an emergency meeting with Minho, Admiral Taeyang, Jiwoo, and Hyejin. He told them everything he'd learned. The room fell into stunned silence. We're the weapons that will destroy the galaxy, Minho said quietly. No, Daewon said firmly. We're weapons. How we use ourselves, that's up to us. The Void Emperor needs Warden connections as stable anchors, but if we overload those connections all at once, we might be able to collapse the anchor points. Sever his link to our reality. Hyojin understood immediately. You're talking about a paradox, using Warden powers to destroy Warden powers. The feedback would kill us all, Day One finished. Yes, every Warden would die, but the Void Emperor would be trapped forever, and the galaxy would survive. The room was silent. Finally, Minho spoke. When? Soon. The Void Emperor is building toward a final attack. He'll target Earth directly because he knows I'll defend it with everything. When he comes, we make our stand. No one argued. They all understood the stakes now. Earth would be the battlefield for the galaxy's survival. The galaxy watched footage of the Battle of Saturn's Gate in stunned silence. One human, one ship, against an armada that had conquered dozens of worlds. And the human had won. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives who had laughed at Jiwoo weeks ago now spoke in hushed, fearful tones. The Luminari proposed immediate negotiations. The Scorath suggested testing Earth's strength themselves. Smaller species began reaching out to Earth privately, seeking alliances. But some saw opportunity in the chaos. The Melodian Union, a peaceful federation of songbird-like beings, sent a representative named Corvus to Earth. He arrived with gifts and sincere apologies for the Council's treatment of humanity. Jiwoo met him cautiously. She no longer trusted alien promises. We wronged your people, Corvus said, his feathers ruffling with shame. The Council feared what we didn't understand. Now we see that fear was justified, but for the wrong reasons. Day One is not a threat. He is a guardian, and you will need allies for what's coming. What do you know about what's coming? Jiwoo asked sharply. Corvus pulled up holographic data. We've detected reality fractures at the galaxy's edge. Things are coming through. Things that shouldn't exist. Your guardian warned about devourers. We believe him now. Jiwoo brought this information to Admiral Taeyang and Daewon. The warden studied the data with a grim expression. It's starting, he said. The seals are breaking faster than I thought. We have months, not years. Can we stop them? Taeyang asked. Maybe, Daewon said. But not with what we have now. Earth needs more than one guardian. We need wardens. In a secure facility beneath Earth's surface, Daewon began training volunteers. The warden process was brutal. Scientists had to bond human nervous systems with technology that touched the fabric of space-time itself. Most candidates couldn't handle the connection. Their minds broke from trying to perceive too much reality at once. Hee-jin, a brilliant scientist who had studied Daewon's original files, worked to make the process safer. But there were limits to what could be done. Creating a warden meant pushing a human being past every natural limit. Daewon was honest with the volunteers. This will hurt worse than anything you've experienced. Some of you will die. Those who survive will never be the same. You'll see things normal humans can't see, feel things they can't feel. The universe will whisper its secrets to you, and those secrets will drive you half mad. But humanity needs defenders. Earth needs guardians. So I'm asking for volunteers willing to become something more than human. Dozens stepped forward. Young soldiers, old veterans, men and women from every nation on Earth. They all understood what was at stake. One volunteer stood out. His name was Minho, a fighter pilot with exceptional reflexes and a tactical mind that impressed even Daewon. When Hee-jin tested him, she found something remarkable. Minho's neural patterns were almost identical to Daewon's. He was naturally suited for warden augmentation. He could be as strong as you, Hee-jin told Daewon privately. Maybe stronger, since we've improved the process. Daewon looked at the young man and saw himself 300 years ago. Eager, brave, not fully understanding what he was volunteering for. Are you sure? Daewon asked Minho. There's no going back from this. Minho met his eyes without flinching. Earth gave me everything. My family, my home, my future. If becoming a warden helps protect that, then I'm sure. The augmentation process took 3 days. Minho screamed until his voice gave out. His body rejected the implants twice, and each time Hee-jin had to restart his heart. Daewon stayed with him the entire time, remembering his own transformation. He had died twice during his procedure, and only his stubborn refusal to quit had brought him back. On the 3rd day, Minho opened his eyes. They glowed faintly with inner light, just like Daewon's. He sat up slowly and looked at his hands. Reality rippled around his fingers. "I can see everything," Minho whispered. "The gravity currents. The quantum fluctuations. It's beautiful and terrible." "Welcome to the Wardens," Daewon said quietly. Over the next months, 12 more candidates survived the process. Not as powerful as Daewon or Minho, but still formidable. Earth now had 14 guardians, the galaxy noticed. Every species began reassessing their position toward humanity. Some sought friendship, others plotted in secret, and some decided to test Earth's new strength. The Skorath Empire sent their champion, a massive warrior named Rakthor, to challenge Daewon. In Skorath culture, ritual combat between champions decided territorial disputes. If Rakthor won, the Skorath would claim Earth's system. If he lost, they would acknowledge human dominance. The challenge came with full ceremony. Rakthor arrived on a diplomatic ship, broadcasting his credentials across all channels. He had killed 73 opponents in ritual combat. He was considered unbeatable. Daewon surprised everyone by declining the challenge personally. Instead, he nominated Minho. "You're sending the new one?" Jiwoo asked in disbelief. "Rakthor has decades of experience." "Minho needs to be tested," Daewon said. "And the galaxy needs to understand that I'm not Earth's only weapon. We're building something bigger than one guardian." The combat took place on a neutral asteroid, broadcast to billions of viewers across the galaxy. Rakthor stood 3 meters tall, covered in scales and muscle. Minho looked small beside him, young and untested. The Skorath champion attacked immediately, moving with speed that defied his size. His blows could shatter steel. But Minho had been trained by Daewon. He didn't try to match strength with strength. He used his warden abilities to predict movements, to move where Rakthor wasn't, to strike at weak points in the perfect moment. The fight lasted 20 minutes. Rakthor grew frustrated as his attacks missed again and again. Minho wore him down with precision strikes, targeting joints and nerve clusters. Finally, when the Skorath warrior overextended on a massive punch, Minho swept his legs and put him in a submission hold. "Yield," Minho said calmly. Rakthor struggled, then stopped. He tapped the ground 3 times in surrender. The galaxy exploded with reactions. A human, barely a warden for 2 months, had defeated the Skorath Empire's champion. Even Daewon looked impressed. Minho helped Rakthor to his feet, showing respect. The Skorath warrior studied him, then broke into a razor-toothed grin. "You fight well, small one." The Skorath acknowledged Earth's strength. "Perhaps we will fight beside you someday instead of against you." It was the beginning of Earth's first true alien alliance. The Skorath respected power and honor. Humanity had shown both. Back on Earth, Daewon continued training the new wardens. He taught them combat techniques from 100 battles. He showed them how to use their abilities without burning out. He prepared them for war. Because war was coming, Hyejin's sensors detected more reality fractures every day. The Melodian Union reported entire mining colonies going dark at the galaxy's edge. Ships sent to investigate never returned. Something was consuming everything in its path. Admiral Taeyang mobilized Earth's fleet. Jiwoo reached out to every species willing to listen, building a coalition. The Melodians joined immediately. The Skorath pledged their warriors. Even some smaller Vrelith clans, shamed by their leader's defeat, offered aid. But it wasn't enough. When the first Devourer scout ships appeared in scans, Daewon knew the truth. This would be bigger than any battle he'd fought before. "How bad?" Taeyang asked, seeing his expression. "Last time I faced them alone," Daewon said. "I barely won. Now they're coming in force. We're going to need everything. Every warden. Every ship. Every ally. Will it be enough?" Daewon looked out at Earth, hanging beautiful and blue in the void. He thought about 300 years fighting in darkness to protect this world. He thought about Minho and the other new wardens so young and brave. He thought about billions of humans who deserve to live in peace. "It has to be," he said. Far at the galaxy's edge, reality tore open. Devourer ships poured through like insects from a hive. But unlike last time, they weren't random. They moved with purpose. With intelligence, something was directing them. Something that had waited 300 years for this moment. Something that wanted Daewon specifically. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, and Earth stood at the center of it all. Jiwoo returned to Earth's orbital station with a weight on her shoulders. The Council had not just rejected Earth's petition. They had approved plans to invade. The Vrelith Collective was assembling an armada, and they would arrive within weeks. She walked through the station's corridors, seeing human faces everywhere. Engineers, families, children playing in the recreational areas. They all trusted that diplomacy would save them. They didn't know that diplomacy had failed. Admiral Taeyang was waiting for her in the command center. The old man studied her face and understood immediately. "How bad is it?" he asked. "They're coming," Jiwoo said quietly. "The Vrelith are bringing everything. They mean to wipe us out," Taeyang nodded slowly. He had prepared for this day his entire career. Earth's defense fleet was small but well-trained. They had weapons the Council didn't know about. But against a full Vrelith armada, they would last hours at best. "We'll evacuate who we can," Taeyang said, "and we'll make them pay for every inch." Before Jiwoo could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. A communication request was coming through on an encrypted military channel that had been dead for 300 years. A Warden channel. Taeyang's hands shook as he accepted the connection. Static filled the screen, then slowly cleared to show a man's face. He was younger than expected, perhaps 40 in appearance, but his eyes were ancient. Scars crossed his features. His armor was battered and worn, but the insignia on his chest was unmistakable. "This is Warden Daewon," the man said. His voice was rough, like he hadn't spoken in years. "I'm coming home. Prepare for war. They won't let this stand." The connection cut off before either could respond. Taeyang and Jiwoo stared at each other in stunned silence. Then Taeyang began barking orders. Within minutes, Earth's defense fleet was mobilizing. Word spread through the station like wildfire. The Guardian was alive. He was coming back. Jiwoo volunteered to lead a small diplomatic ship to rendezvous with Daewon at a neutral station called Crosspoint. She needed to see him with her own eyes. She needed to know if the legend was real. The journey took 2 days. When she arrived at Crosspoint, she found Daewon's ship docked in a remote bay. Security footage showed he had disabled 3 separate attempts by bounty hunters to capture him. He had done it without killing anyone, which surprised Jiwoo. The reports made him sound like a monster, but monsters didn't show mercy. She found him in an observation deck staring out at the stars. He was tall, with a warrior's build that even his damaged armor couldn't hide. When he turned to face her, Jiwoo felt a chill. His eyes held depths of pain and determination that made her want to step back. But she held her ground. "I'm Jiwoo, Earth's diplomatic representative. I know who you are," Daewon said. His voice was gentler than she expected. "I've been watching Earth's broadcasts, learning what I missed. 300 years is a long time. Everyone thought you were dead," Jiwoo said. "What happened to you?" Daewon's expression darkened. "I was sealing a rift to keep the Devourers out. The galaxy sealed me in with them. They were afraid of what humanity could become with Warden technology. So they erased me from history and hoped Earth would stay weak and controllable." Anger flashed in Jiwoo's chest. She had suspected something like this, but hearing it confirmed made her blood boil. "The Devourers," she said. "Are they still a threat?" "Yes," Daewon said grimly. "The seals are breaking. They'll return soon and the galaxy isn't ready. But first we have a more immediate problem. The Vrelith Armada. You know about that?" "I intercepted their communications," Daewon said. "They're bringing 50 capital ships. They plan to glass Earth from orbit and take what's left." Jiwoo felt sick. 50 capital ships. Earth's fleet had 12. "We can't win," she whispered. "No," Daewon agreed. "You can't, but I can." There was no arrogance in his voice, just cold certainty. Jiwoo looked at this scarred warrior and felt something she hadn't felt in months. "Hope. Come home," she said. "Please, everyone needs to see you're real." Daewon considered this, then nodded. "I'm bringing another ship too. Something I took from the void. It'll help even the odds." They traveled back to Earth together. Jiwoo used the time to brief Daewon on everything that had changed. New technology. New politics. New enemies. He listened carefully, asking sharp questions that showed a tactical mind that had lost none of its edge. When Earth came into view, Daewon stood at the observation window for a long time. Jiwoo saw tears in his eyes. "It's still beautiful," he said quietly. "I fought so hard to get back here. Sometimes I thought I'd forgotten why, but seeing it now I remember everything." The arrival of Daewon caused chaos on Earth. News networks ran constant coverage. Historians scrambled to verify his identity. Scientists begged to study his warden abilities. Admiral Taeyang had to post guards just to keep people away. But there was no time for celebration. The Vrelith Armada was 3 days away. Day 1 met with Earth's military command. He reviewed their defensive plans and made changes. He identified weak points the Vrelith would exploit. He showed them combat techniques they had never seen before. Most importantly, he gave them confidence. With him leading the defense, victory seemed possible. On the 3rd day, the Vrelith Armada arrived at Saturn's orbit. 50 massive capital ships, each large enough to carry thousands of troops. They moved in perfect formation, confident in their overwhelming power. Earth's fleet positioned itself near Saturn's rings. 12 ships against 50. The odds were suicide. But Admiral Tae-Yang stood on his flagship's bridge and felt no fear. Because between Earth's fleet and the Vrelith Armada floated a single small ship. And inside that ship was Day 1. The Vrelith commander broadcast a message. Humans, you have 1 hour to evacuate your orbital stations. After that, we begin bombardment. Surrender now and some of you may survive as workers. Tae-Yang opened a return channel. You've made a mistake coming here. Leave now while you still can. Laughter came through the speakers. You have 12 ships. We have 50. What can you possibly do? Day 1's voice cut through the channel, cold and hard. You came to destroy my home. Now I'll show you what happens when you threaten Earth. His ship moved. What happened next would be studied for generations. Day 1's warden abilities let him see seconds into the future and manipulate space around him. His ship danced through the Vrelith formation like water through cracks. He targeted weapon systems, engines, shield generators. Every shot was perfect. Every movement was calculated 3 steps ahead. The Vrelith tried to respond but couldn't track him. He was too fast, too precise. Ships that had terrorized entire sectors fell to his assault like toys. Within 10 minutes, a dozen capital ships were disabled. Then Day 1 changed tactics. He activated the strange ship he had brought from the void. It generated a field that disrupted faster than light drives. The Vrelith fleet was trapped. They couldn't run. The remaining ships tried to overwhelm him with sheer firepower. Thousands of missiles filled space. Day 1's ship weaved between them, his warden senses guiding him through impossible gaps. Meanwhile, Earth's fleet struck from the flanks using tactics Day 1 had taught them. The Vrelith commander realized too late what was happening. This wasn't a battle. It was an execution. Day 1 targeted the flagship and hit its shields with concentrated fire. When they fell, he did something unexpected. He teleported directly onto the ship using his warden abilities. Security footage from inside the flagship would become legendary. Day 1 moved through corridors like death itself. Vrelith soldiers, each twice his size and armed with advanced weapons, fell before him. He didn't use tricks or tactics. He simply fought with 300 years of experience and abilities that bent reality. He reached the bridge and killed the Vrelith admiral in single combat. Then he broadcast a message to every ship in the fleet and every receiver in the galaxy. I am Warden Day 1. Earth is under my protection. Any species that threatens my home will face me. And I promise you, I will erase you from existence. Tell your councils. Tell your emperors. Tell everyone. Earth is not yours to take. The remaining Vrelith ships surrendered immediately. The battle was over. Earth had won. The Great Hall of Viridian Prime floated among the stars like a jewel. Inside, representatives from 100 worlds gathered around a circular table that glowed with soft light. The Galactic Council was in session, and today they discussed Earth. Jiwoo stood alone in the center of the hall. She was young for a diplomat, barely 30 years old with tired eyes that had seen too many rejections. Her hands trembled slightly as she held a data tablet, but she kept her voice steady. Earth asks only for fair treatment, she said. We have followed every rule. We have paid every tax. We ask for nothing except to be left in peace. Laughter echoed through the hall. It came from the Vrelith section, where insectoid creatures with multiple eyes clicked their mandibles in amusement. Their speaker, a large female with scarred chitin, rose to address the council. Peace, the Vrelith said. Earth has nothing to offer. Your guardian is dead. Your technology is primitive. Your world sits in valuable space. We propose harvesting your planet for resources. The motion is seconded. More voices joined in agreement. The crystalline luminary chimed their support with musical tones. The reptilian Skorath remained silent, but their eyes gleamed with interest. Only a few smaller species abstained from voting. Jiwoo felt her heart sink. 300 years ago, this would never have happened. 300 years ago, Earth had Day 1. The council voted. Earth's petition was denied. Worse, they approved preliminary scans of Earth's system for resource extraction. Jiwoo was escorted from the hall with cold efficiency. No one met her eyes. No one cared. As her ship left Viridian Prime, Jiwoo allowed herself to cry. She thought about the billions of people back home who trusted her to protect them. She had failed. Far away, at the edge of known space, something ancient stirred. The void beyond was a place where reality broke down. Space twisted in impossible ways. Time moved backwards and forwards at once. No ship could enter it and return. Those who tried simply vanished, erased from existence. Deep within the void, on a station that should not exist, Daewon opened his eyes. Pain hit him first. His body screamed with injuries that had never properly healed. His armor, once gleaming white and blue, was cracked and stained black. Scars covered every inch of his skin, but he was alive. He had been alive this entire time, trapped in a place between moments, fighting a war no one else could see. 300 years ago, Daewon had been humanity's first warden. Scientists had bonded his body with technology that let him touch space and time itself. They made him into a weapon, a guardian, Earth's protector. When creatures called Devourers tried to break through from the void beyond, Daewon had gone in alone to seal the rift. He succeeded. But the galaxy sealed him in as well, afraid of what humanity might become with such power. Now the seals were breaking. The Devourers were coming back, and Daewon could finally go home. He stood slowly, every movement agony. His enhanced senses reached out through the station, searching. He found a docked scout ship, old but functional. With effort, he made his way there, leaving bloody footprints on metal floors. The ship's computer was locked, but Daewon's warden abilities let him interface directly with machines. He overrode the security in seconds and fired up the engines. As the station fell away behind him, Daewon set course for known space. He had been gone for 3 centuries. Earth must have changed. But one thing never changed about humans: they took care of their own. The galaxy had forgotten that lesson. Daewon would remind them. His first encounter came 2 days later. He detected a distress signal from a civilian transport. When he arrived, he found a human colony ship surrounded by pirate vessels. The pirates were pulling people from the transport, taking them as slaves. Daewon felt something cold settle in his chest. His hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. His scout ship, small and damaged, should have been no match for 6 pirate cruisers. It didn't matter. Daewon activated his warden abilities and felt reality bend around him. He could see the future a few seconds ahead, could feel the gravitational currents of space, could push his ship beyond its normal limits. He dove into the pirate formation like a hawk among sparrows. The first cruiser exploded before it could fire a shot. Daewon had calculated the exact weak point in its reactor and put a missile through it. The second tried to run, but he was faster, appearing beside it and disabling its engines with precision shots. The third through sixth lasted less than a minute combined. When the last pirate ship broke apart, Daewon moved to the transport. He sent a message, "You're safe now. Get your people home." The transport captain responded with confusion and gratitude. "Who are you? I've never seen anyone fight like that." Daewon thought for a moment. He was still days from Earth. The galaxy needed to know he was coming. He needed them to be afraid. "Tell them a ghost has risen," he said. "Tell them Earth's guardian never died. Tell them to leave humanity alone, or I will erase them from the stars." He cut the connection and jumped away into faster-than-light travel. Behind him, the survivors stared at sensor readings that made no sense. The ship that saved them had signature patterns from 300 years ago. Warden technology. But that was impossible. News spread fast in the galaxy. A mysterious ship was destroying pirate fleets across human space. Then it started hitting military patrols that got too close to Earth. Vrelith scouts went missing. A Skorath observation post went dark. Every attack was precise, overwhelming, and left the same message burned into hulls: "Stay away from Earth." The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. They reviewed footage from survivors. They analyzed weapon signatures, and slowly, impossible as it seemed, they reached a conclusion. Daewon was alive. The warden had returned. The council chamber erupted in panic. The Vrelith demanded immediate action. The Luminari suggested retreat. The Skorath saw opportunity for glory. Arguments flew back and forth while Jiwoo, recalled to observe, stood in shock. She had read about Daewon in history files. Earth's first and only warden, the man who single-handedly held off entire fleets, the guardian who sacrificed himself to save humanity. He was a legend, a story told to children. He was supposed to be dead. But Jiwoo looked at the evidence and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Back on Earth, Admiral Taeyang watched the same reports in his command center. He was an old man now, with gray hair and a face lined with worry. He had spent his entire career preparing for the day when the galaxy would finally come for Earth. He had built defenses in secret. He had trained soldiers in guerrilla warfare. He had accepted that humanity would go down fighting. Now, watching footage of impossible combat, he allowed himself a smile. Their guardian was coming home. And the galaxy was about to remember why you never threatened Earth.